G'day guys, welcome back to the Whiskey Throttle Club. In this video today, what I'm going to be doing is making up a new headlight bracket for my Harley Davidson Sportster. Now, if you've seen my previous headlight video, you would have seen me make the bracket for this single rectangle headlight, but I want to give the bike more of a chopper look, so I'm going to be running the dual rectangle headlights. Now, I'm going to wire them up so one is constantly running and both of them will be on when I flick on the high beam switch. Let's jump into it. If you've seen my previous headlight video and you want to skip how to make the bracket and you just want to jump straight into the wiring of the headlights, check out the chapters below. So, like the old bracket here, I'll use stainless steel to make the new bracket and I'll polish it up. Now for this bracket, instead of using the riser bolts like I did with my previous bracket, I'm going to use the bolts that hold on the original headlight shroud. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a template out of cardboard. I've got my two bolts in here and I'm going to figure out how I want it to sit, and then once I've got it all sort of set up the way that I want it to be, I'll then recreate the template, but I'll make it out of stainless steel. Alright, so this is a rough template I've made up. Now it does look like the previous bracket that I took off, but like I mentioned before, I'm going to be using the bolts for the headlight shroud instead of the riser bolts. And once I've made that bracket, I'll just play around with it and see what position and what angle I want both the headlights at. Alright, so this is the basic layout of the bracket that I'll be running. Now I'll give it a quick polish and clean up, but you guys have probably seen me polish stainless, so I'm not going to bore you with that. And then once I've polished, I'll bend it and drill a couple of holes. So after heating the stainless and trying to bend it, I've got it to sort of the bend that I want, but originally I was hoping with a bit of heat I could bend straight through the middle there so it would have more of a face on it. Unfortunately I can't do much apart from what I've done here. So what I'm going to be doing is cutting some of the excess material off, re-drilling the holes and just sort of scalloping that out through there a bit more, just so the whole bracket can sit back maybe 20 more mil. Now I've got that done, I'm going to figure out where I need to put holes in the actual bracket itself to mount the headlights. So this is how I've got it sitting so far. Now it's not exactly what I envisioned. It's sitting a little bit too far away, only because when I was bending the stainless, it rounded rather than being a bit tighter of a bend. But unless I had a bender or a brake press, there's no real way with my hand tools I'm gonna get that tighter. So what I might do, get the bracket to drop down a little bit more so it doesn't look quite as dorky and doesn't sit out quite as far. Alright, just because I didn't like the way the headlights were sitting, I've put a bit of an angle in the bottom there, just kicked it out just a touch, and I'll pop the two headlights in, double check to see what they look like, and then get onto the wiring. What I'm doing here is just extending the wires, just so I've got a bit more to actually play with. Now I've got it half wired up, I need to take the bracket back off and drill 2 more holes just so I can run the electrical wires through. Alright, so after bending the bracket for the headlights a little bit more down at the bottom there, I've got it looking a bit tighter. Now my next issue is the wiring, because the stock sports wiring is high beam, low beam. Low beam is one filament and then high beam is another filament in the stock headlight. Basically meaning that you either have one globe or the other. And what I'm going to try and do is wire them up so the bottom headlight there is constantly on, and then when I flick the high beam on, both will be on. Now there is a couple of ways around this. You can either get a diode and put a diode in, which is essentially a one-way valve for electricity. I can put a secondary switch in, or, which might be the easiest option, is I'm just going to try and wire the bottom headlight into the accessory wire, and then the top headlight will be the high beam. So thanks to my neighbour Dirk, he's actually come over and helped me wire this up better. So what I've done is my constant light, I've actually wired it into the park light, and the top light, which I want is high beam, I've wired that into the high beam. So the park light will constantly run the bottom globe and the high beam will run the top globe while the bottom globe is on. Now all I've got to do is cover up the spare wire and run both of the earths to the same earth on the stock harness. And there you have it, guys. What I ended up doing was wiring the bottom headlight into the park light on the stock wiring loom. And then the high beam, I just wired that up to the high beam switch. So the park light, which is currently the bottom light, will stay on as a constant light. And then when I flick the switch, the high beam will come on. Now, I'm not sure if I want to keep the double rectangles or go back to the single rectangle, but let me know what you think in the comments. Should I run the doubles, the single, or go back to the stock round headlight? Like always, thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.